Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Excited to be here.
Today we're tackling a topic that's been generating a lot of buzz lately.
Well,
Panic buttons in businesses.
yeah, it's been all over the news.
We've been getting a ton of questions from you all about this new law in New York, so we figured it's time for a deep dive.
Definitely. Let's break it down.
All right, so imagine this. You're working the late night shift, maybe at a convenience store, and there's a customer giving off really bad vibes.
Oh, I totally get it, that feeling of uneasiness.
Right. You just know something's off, and you wish you had a way to call for help without making things worse.
It's about that feeling of security, or lack thereof, in those moments.
Exactly. Well, lawmakers in New York picked up on that unease and passed a law called the Retail Worker Safety Act.
RWSTAT for short.
RWSA, right. So what it boils down to is this. Large chain businesses, your McDonald's, your Targets, big hotels, they're all required to have panic buttons installed in their New York locations.
And it's all driven by this increasing concern for the safety of retail workers,
Mm.
especially those who are constantly interacting with the public, like cashiers, hotel staff, folks like that.
You know, when I first heard about this law, I thought it was probably a reaction to a few high-profile incidents, but then I did some digging.
Oh, yeah. What'd you find?
Turns out the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, or NIOSH, they found that retail workers actually face some of the highest rates of workplace violence out there.
It's a real issue, and it's not just about feeling a little uneasy. It's a statistically significant problem.
Right, and that's something that really struck me. This law isn't just about, making people feel a bit safer. It's tackling a real and measurable problem.
Exactly. And while right now the focus is on these bigger businesses, I wouldn't be surprised if we see this trend trickle down to smaller businesses as well.
It really could set a precedent for workplace safety across the board. So we've talked about the why behind these panic buttons, but let's get practical. When a worker hits that button, what actually happens? Is it an instant 911 call, or is it a bit more nuanced than that?
It's actually way more interesting than just a direct line to the police. It really depends on how a business decides to set it up.
Oh, okay, so there's some flexibility there.
Yeah, for sure. A panic button could be set up to alert in-store security first, so they can assess the situation quickly. Or it could go straight to a manager's phone, or even trigger a whole cascade of alerts, depending on what's needed.
So it's about getting the right kind of help, not just automatically calling in, like a SWAT team for every little thing.
Right, exactly. Sometimes having that immediate backup from someone already on site can de-escalate a situation before it even gets to the point of needing the police.
Makes sense. It's about having options, having that support network there, and ready to respond in the way that's actually needed.
Exactly. And actually, there was a really interesting example of this in one of the articles we looked at.
Yeah, what was that?
So it involved a hotel employee who used a panic button when they were dealing with a guest that was getting really difficult.
Oh, I can see how that could be a tricky situation.
Definitely. But instead of automatically dialing 911, the panic button sent an alert to other staff members, and they were able to get there super quickly and defuse the situation.
That's awesome. It's great to see it working as intended. But I gotta ask, on the tech side of things, how is this all actually working? We saw some stuff about something called SMS group notification systems, which sounds pretty intense. What exactly are those?
That's where it gets really cool, actually. So companies like, I think it was SimplifiedAlerts.com was one example. They're using these systems to basically turn the panic button into a super fast, super targeted alert system.
Okay, now that sounds seriously useful. So how does that work?
Basically, picture this. An employee hits that button, and boom, instantly, everyone on the security team, maybe the manager on duty, their phones light up with a message. Could be something like, need assistance at checkout lane 3, something really specific.
So it's like a souped-up group text, but just for emergencies.
You got it. But it's even smarter than that.
So it sounds like we're talking way more than just a faster way to send a text, right? What makes this system stand out from something like, say, just having everyone on a group text thread?
You're hitting on a key point there. It's about more than just speed, though that is obviously critical in an emergency. These systems, they're designed specifically for this kind of thing, so they come with a whole bunch of features that regular text just don't have.
Like what? Give me some examples. What kind of stuff can these systems do?
Okay, so first off, you've got customization. Like with a regular group text, everyone gets the same message, right?
Right.
But with this, you can decide exactly who gets alerted depending on the situation.
So you're not sending the whole fire squad for a small kitchen fire kind of thing.
Precisely. And you can even customize the content of the message, so instead of a vague, help needed, it's super specific, like we were saying before. Need assistance at checkout lane 3 or problem guest in room 202, that kind of thing.
So it's about getting the right information to the right people right away, which obviously in an emergency is crucial.
Absolutely. And there's even more to it. Some systems let you choose how the alert goes out, so maybe it's a text, but it could also be an email, a phone call, or even a combination of all of those.
Wow, so they've really thought of everything. And I guess having that kind of flexibility could make a big difference depending on what the situation calls for.
Exactly. And another thing I thought was really interesting, they actually keep a record of all these alerts. So, after the fact, if there needs to be some kind of follow-up or maybe even an investigation, it's all documented.
That's huge. Having that kind of paper trail could be so important, both for, like you said, investigations, but also just for businesses to learn and figure out how to improve their responses in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And, taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture here, I think this whole thing could have ramifications way beyond just retail workers in New York.
What do you mean?
Well, this law, it's kind of a big deal. It could be the start of a much bigger push for better workplace safety across the board. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see other states following New York's lead on this.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, could this be the beginning of a nationwide trend? Like, are we about to see panic buttons popping up in businesses everywhere?
It's definitely possible. And honestly, I think it's a conversation worth having, It makes you really think about the responsibility employers have to ensure their employees' safety and the role technology can play in that.
Totally. It's like we're always talking about how technology is changing the world, but this is a really concrete example of how it can be used to literally make people safer at work.
And that's something that should matter to all of us, no matter what industry we're in or where we live.
I couldn't agree more. Well, I think we've definitely uncovered a lot to think about today. Panic buttons, workplace safety, the evolving relationship between technology and, well, just our everyday lives.
It's a lot to unpack, for sure.
It always is, but that's what we're here for. Big thanks to everyone for joining us for another Deep Dive. We hope this episode has given you some food for thought and maybe even inspired you to learn a little bit more about what's going on in the world of worker safety. Until next time, stay curious.